breaking an arm. When you get done with this, you are not the same person you were before it happened. And I don't know if you can understand that at 16 or 17 years old, how it changes absolutely everything.
I obviously don't think I could even speak. I was like, blah, blah, blah. Nobody really knew what I was saying, so I didn't know I could not walk. Just all those little things that you think you know how to do. Then when it comes down to it, when you try to do them, you can't.
There's a recognition that the things that we work on with people are things that, 4 and 5-year-olds are learning to do developmentally, that 18 to 35, sometimes older than that, those people are having to relearn to do it.
Had to learn how to walk, swallow, tie my shoes. My grandmother showed me how to tie my shoes.
To me, it's like, it's a constant struggle because you take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, then 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and it's a constant juggling act to get my life back.
My voice was my best friend. Meant more to me than anything. And then, of all things, when the wreck happened, my voice was the one thing was dear to me. It was the one thing that got taken away. I can't tell you how much I cried about it.
And it's a struggle. It usually takes longer to recover than people expect. There are usually more issues involved than they expect. For example, having to go retake a driving test. It's hard for people to recognize sometimes that they have more impairments than they think they do, and they have to go through more hoops to regain independence that they are used to.
This is the tracheotomy scar, where...
Battle scar?
Yeah, battle scar where a tube goes down your throat and you receive oxygen through that so you can breathe.
Oh, I have a battle scar here and a feeding tube that was placed here.
We will put in a tracheostomy in through the trachea. That way we can effectively clear secretions for them because they don't have the ability to do that because of their brain injury. If we know somebody's going to be on the ventilator for a long time, like a closed head injury, we will try and get a tracheostomy placed, because with the tracheostomy we can just take the ventilator off them when they have the sufficient respiratory drive and respiratory muscles to ventilate on their own.
I still say when you see that trach scar, that is a badge of courage, because all the things that had to happen for that person to survive and the life force that was fighting within that person that brought them out of coma, that brought them to the initial rehab, to hope, shows that there is some purpose out there. It's something beyond which we don't understand. But that force drives these kids, and that's a powerful force.
I think the most difficult thing would be having them gain an awareness of their deficits and how it's going to tie into their former lives and whether or not they can resume some of the roles that they had previously. A lot of the population that we work with are young people, generally aged 18 to about 35, and a majority of them are male, just based on males in that category take more risks, and a lot of the times people that we work with have varying levels of brain injury, whether it's a concussion, whether it's a truly traumatic brain injury, or whether it's something somewhere in between on that continuum.
Arm up there.
Nice job.
Tall. Tall through here. Good. Nice job.
I don't know where it comes from, because why I have this urge to go fast. I always have. Yeah, at the end of those commercials when they're saying this was done by a professional driver on a closed course, I always thought I was a really professional driver, but I was never on the closed course. Instead, I was rolling end over end through a hayfield.
One of the guys that I've worked with in the past is Dave Tubergen. He's a young guy that had a pretty significant injury following a multiple rollover accident, and his injury was severe enough that he needed to be airlifted to a hospital.
It was his best friend who called me, and he was just hysterical. And he said, they're airlifting David. And I said, no, the first thing I said, Paulie was just crying and crying. And I said, is he dead? And Paulie said, I don't think so, but they're airlifting him now.
The majority of patients who are transported with traumatic brain injury are young men who are involved in car accidents. The way I look at it is we provide an opportunity to save a life. There's only so much we can do. We, the Aeromed team and the helicopter, is just one link in a chain.
You know, I know they talk about the golden hour. I fly as fast as I can every time. I fly as fast as I can going, coming, and as safely as we can primarily. That's the most important thing.
I remember when he was first injured, and they allowed me to put music in his room. I'd put Norah Jones on. I loved Norah Jones.
Come away with me in the night.
And it's the most beautiful song, and if you listen to it, it's almost like a mother's prayer to a kid to come back.
I'm sure most parents have said it's not you usually, it's the other drivers. And boy, is that a true statement. And a lot of times I was that other driver that people had to watch out for. I had a speaker box come from the back of my car, and when the speaker box, I had the back seats folded down. When the speaker box came, it put a hole probably about this big in my head, and they had to wait like 2 years for much bone to your bone kind of forms layer over layer, and I had a hole, and they wanted to see how much of that hole would close up before they went and put a plate in. And so they just put a piece of titanium and ABS plastic in my head a couple months